Welcome to Downtown Sports. My name is Downtown Stephen Brown, and in today's video, guys, we are going to be going over some news and some rumors and some analysis. But first of all, I didn't get a chance to thank you guys for hitting 2,000 subscribers here on the channel. There was so much going on that I really didn't get a chance to, but I guess I waited about a week or so, and we're almost at 2.5 thousand now, and the channel's just been, oh my god, guys. I look at the numbers and the stats, over 70,000 views this month so far, and that is stupid. That is so overwhelming and crazy, but I am so thankful for it. Thanksgiving here in Canada was a couple of days ago. If you are Canadian, happy belated Thanksgiving to you. I hope it was good. If you're not from Canada, if you're watching this, I'm still very much thankful for you. And the first bit of news here, I'm sure you guys have seen this, and we are going to do an in-depth analysis on this and show where he possibly fits in on the team and why I think so. James Myrtle is saying this in this Athletic article that's quoted here by @_Nick Richard here on Twitter, but it's not just Myrtle that's saying this. Chris Johnson said it on the most recent episode of the Steve Dangle podcast, and he used kind of similar wording to aggressively, and then he walked it back a little bit because he didn't want to be misquoted. Elliot Friedman's been on this train for a couple of years now, so I'll believe it when I see it, but it is nice to see because I do love me some Jumbo Joe Thornton, and if he does become a Toronto Maple Leaf, I will be one of the firsts to own a Joe Thornton Toronto Maple Leafs jersey. But he is 41 years old right now, and you got to temper expectations on this guy, but he's a beast. He's a monster. He's an absolute animal. I mean, what's that when the San Jose Sharks went to the Stanley Cup Finals, the 15-16 season against the Pittsburgh Penguins? Wasn't he playing with two just absolutely blown out legs? After he would take off his hockey equipment, both of them were blue and purple completely, and he needed major surgery on both of them and stuff like that. He's an absolute animal, but still at 40 years old, he managed to put up 31 points, 7 goals in 70 games on a San Jose team that wasn't really too great last year. Guys, I found it. Joe Thornton played for the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds in 1995, 1996, and 96-97. That means that Kyle Dubas must acquire this player. Kyle Dubas would have been 10 years old at that time, but I mean, hey, still. But from EvolvingHockey.com here, we're looking at Jason Spezza from the 1920 season and Joe Thornton here. Joe Thornton still did have a very productive season at age 40. So what the Toronto Maple Leafs are getting in this player is they're getting an absolute monster, like I had already said, and a guy that can still contribute to the lineup. And this is kind of my own tweet here, but I want to put you guys in this mental headspace, okay? If Dubas is able to convince Thornton to come on a one-year deal and he and Spezza win the cup in Toronto, who gets to hoist that thing first? I'd imagine it would be Jumbo Joe, and Spezza wouldn't want it any other way, but I think we can all agree that we'd all shed a couple of tears at that point. And I also want you guys to imagine a locker room with Joe Thornton, Jason Spezza, Wayne Simmons, Jake Muzzin, Zach Bogosian, to go with already Morgan Rielly, John Tavares, and Austin Matthews. Now, you guys can figure your lines or whatever here, but the reason why I have Thornton here on the fourth line is just because I think he takes on a role similar to what Spezza did last year, where he wasn't necessarily playing every single game, but if you needed him to play a little bit higher in the lineup, he definitely could, and he wouldn't say no to playing more minutes. It's always good to have players that are capable of doing more than what you're asking of them, so I don't think it's a bad thing to have him there, because throughout the course of the game, they can always throw the lines in a blender, and he can end up playing in the top six, on the third line, on the fourth line. It really doesn't matter. And this is coming from @Joseph D. Zeta here on Twitter, but Elliot Friedman on the most recent edition of the 31 Thoughts podcast about Ilya Mikheyev. I think the team is going to try and get him at around $1.5 million. I'm sure the player wants more than that. And I had Travis Dermott on that armchair GM because of this. Also from Joseph Zeta here, but Elliot Friedman on the most recent edition of the 31 Thoughts podcast about Weegar and Toronto. I think that Florida made an ask, and I think they were looking at Andreas Johnsson and Travis Dermott, and I think Toronto turned that down. And I think that says more about Travis Dermott than it does Andreas Johnsson, because the Maple Leafs were very willing to deal Johnsson, and in fact, they kind of had to. And they had a couple of different trade offers on the table for him. They had deals that just involved draft picks, but they really did like this Joey Anderson kid, and I think that he does have value. And I talked about him in a video that I will link above the screen, but I do believe that it says more about Travis Dermott and how they value him as an organization. I don't necessarily think that it's fair to compare these players straight up because Dermott is 23 turning 24 and Weegar's 26 turning 27. They're at different points in their development. Weegar's more towards the prime of his career. And I like the philosophy of not just giving up on your young players for just about anything, but I think this is more of the mystery box and the boat kind of scenario. Because if you're looking at it, Travis Dermott is kind of the mystery box in this sense, and Mackenzie Weegar is the boat, because Weegar really is what you'd hope Travis Dermott is going to develop into, best case scenario, in a couple of seasons. And he also shoots right-handed and is a little bit bigger than Dermott as well. So there's two reasons why I think Kyle Dubas didn't pull the trigger on that trade, Andreas Johnsson and Dermott for Mackenzie Weegar, is either that wasn't the full trade, or Kyle Dubas thinks very, very highly of Travis Dermott, and that could be a good thing or a bad thing if you're too high on your players. But also, I wonder if he thinks that he can outweight the Florida Panthers here, because what happens to Mackenzie Weegar's trade value after his arbitration case? Arbitration cases aren't for another couple of weeks, and by that point, more free agents will sign, more trades will happen, teams will have less cap space to work with, and they'll have their team kind of sorted out for next season. And even before arbitration, the risk in acquiring Mackenzie Weegar is that the arbitrator sides with him, pays him a lot of money on a one-year deal, and he's an unrestricted free agent next season on a one-year deal. So why would the Maple Leafs give up Dermott, who has a number of years of team control ahead of him, for a guy who might just walk in unrestricted free agency next year? So I do understand Kyle Dubas saying no on that trade offer. I'd be a lot more keen on doing something similar to what the Islanders and the Avalanche did, where it was just straight draft picks involved. The closer and closer that salary arbitration case gets for Mackenzie Weegar, the lower and lower his trade value is going to be, because it puts more pressure on the Florida Panthers to trade him. And if his trade value does come down and the asking price goes from Andreas Johnsson and Travis Dermott to just Travis Dermott for Mackenzie Weegar, then you're looking at the Maple Leafs getting Joey Anderson and Mackenzie Weegar for those two players, and I like that deal a lot more. Listen, if you're not already following Earl on Twitter, you're missing out here, and if you're not reading his work with theleafsnation.com, you're also missing out here. But in the Maple Leafs signing Aaron Dell, he offers more than the average third-string goalie. In 107 NHL career games so far, and he posted a .907 save percentage last year through 33 games. At $800,000, which is what he signed for, which is very, very important here, he is at the threshold for a $0 roster emergency recall, and that may be helpful down the road, given how tight to the cap the Maple Leafs project to be. So what that basically means, like, let's say one of Freddie or Jack Campbell get hurt. I mean, knock on wood, I don't know if that's real wood or not. That's real wood. We're not jinxing anything here on this channel, but what that would basically mean is if either one of those guys were hurt and not able to play in the game, and they really, really, really needed a backup goalie, but they were so tight up against the cap that they couldn't afford it, they could use their emergency recall on Aaron Dell, and it wouldn't cost them anything. And I am not trying to start anything with this information here, but in terms of his high danger save percentage from last season, so basically on shots that are like 5 or 6 feet out from the net, those are point blank opportunities, Aaron Dell ranks 30th on this list out of 54 goalies who qualified, playing over 1,000 minutes last season, so about 30-ish plus games last year. He's 30th on this list. He's not a third string goalie. He's a very, very effective backup goalie, and the Maple Leafs found themselves in a position where they needed another goalie. He's very, very capable, and he's also higher than Frederik Andersen and Jack Campbell on this list, so like I said, do with the information as you will. Last year, the goaltending depth was Frederik Andersen and Michael Hutchison, and it was an absolute nightmare. This year, it's going to be Frederik Andersen, Jack Campbell, and now Aaron Dell is added into the mix here. I'm feeling pretty confident with the depth there at that position, at least for next season. I mean, if you don't want to feel overly optimistic or have any confidence in Aaron Dell, he's at least better than Mike Smith, who signed for almost double the amount of money. But that's going to be pretty much it for this video, guys. Make sure to let me know what you guys think about the stuff that I talked about in the comment section. Make sure to leave me a like on the video if you did like it, and subscribe for more, because more is always on the way. And guys, I think we should all start growing our beards out now, because I'm going to choose to be blindly optimistic and have total faith in this scenario. I'm saying Joe Thornton is coming to Toronto.